Very good evening to everyone present here tonight. My name is Brian and I'll be your host for tonight. On behalf of the JPO family, we'd like to extend a warm welcome to everyone tuning in for tonight's broadcast. We hope that everyone is doing well and staying safe indoors. A friendly reminder to maintain good hygiene at all times and maintain social distancing when heading out. We would also like to express our gratitude to mothers everywhere, and we wish that you have a great Mother's Day. To anyone who is interested in sharing tonight's broadcast, a live feed is being shared on the JPO YouTube channel. If you have any questions that you'd like to ask, please feel free to type them out in the Q&A section down below. For those of you joining us from YouTube, please type your questions down in the live chat down below. A recording of the webinar will also be uploaded onto the YouTube channel. Today's seminar features Mr. Adolfo Mendoza, with his topic being the bassoon as a soloist and as an orchestra player. Mr. Mendoza is the principal bassoonist of the Philippine Philharmonic Orchestra, or PPO for short. He also serves as a faculty member of the University of Santo Tomas, or UST's, Conservatory of Music, the Santa Isabel College of Music, the St. Paul University of Manila, and he's also the conductor of the Trinity University of Asia's Symphonic Band. Mr. Mendoza finished his Bachelor of Music major in bassoon at the University of Santo Tomas, Conservatory of Music, under Professor Romeo Varayo and Professor Arnaldo Custodio. He studied with the NHK principal bassoonist Professor Koji Okazaki at the Elizabeth University of Music in Hiroshima, Japan for his master's degree. He was also a full scholar at the Hong Kong Academy for Art of Performing Arts under Professor Kam Sui. He was also, who was the principal bassoonist of the Hong Kong Philharmonic Orchestra. He finished his doctorate of the musical arts at Texas Tech University in the USA back in 2016 under Professor Richard Meek. Over the years as a musician, he had won second place at the National Music Competitions for Young Artists, or NAMCYA for short, under the solo bassoon category C in 1992. He was also a member of the UST Woodwind Quintet, which had won the first prize in the same competition the following year in the chamber music category. He was an active member and the principal bassoonist of the UST Symphony Orchestra, the UST Symphonic Band, and the UST Woodwind Quintet. He was also a winner of the International Students Music Competition for Solo Instruments in Tokyo, Japan. Mr. Mendoza attended the ASEAN Youth Symphonic Band workshop held in Thailand and Singapore in 1992 and 1994. He then joined the Asian Youth Orchestra, or AYO for short, in 1996. Together, they have performed in Hong Kong, Taiwan, Japan, and in the United States of America. He was also a member of the AYO Woodwind Quintet, which performed at the White House in Washington, D.C. He was the bassoonist for the musical Miss Saigon for its Manila run at the Cultural Center of the Philippines from September 2000 to March 2001. He then also took part in the Hong Kong and Singapore runs from March to August of 2001. He also performed as the principal bassoon of the PPO in its Europe tour to Austria, the Czech Republic, Spain, and Germany in 2001, as well as its Japan concert tour in September 2002. He was featured in the CCP's Filipino Artist Series in September 2002, alongside pianist Mary Ann Espina, and as a soloist of the PPO in the same year. He participated in the Manila Chamber Wind Concert Tour to Seoul, Korea in November 2002. The next year, he performed the concerto for bassoon by Mozart with the UST Symphony Orchestra. He was also the featured artist at the 9th San Agustin International Music Festival with the Spanish organist Miguel Gonzalez in 2007. He attended the International Double Reed Society Conference in Japan, as well as in the United States in the city of Provo, Utah, as well as in Oklahoma. He was a featured soloist at the PPO's concert series in December 2016, where he premiered the national artist's work, Antonino Buenaventura's Bassoon Concerto. He composed the Jubilee song for of the province of Cavite. Mr. Mendoza was the music director and conductor of the Lyceum Northwestern University Chorale and the Balon Dagupan City Government Chorale. He is also the founder of the Pandaragupan Youth Orchestra Incorporated and the Philippine Pops Orchestra, where he serves as the president and music director, respectively. He is also the music consultant of Dagupan City. Recently, he performed in Calgary and Edmonton, Canada, for a fundraising concert entitled Our Music and Our Soul. As our JPO family attendees are mostly students ranging from primary school to college, their parents and their teachers, the sharing of knowledge and advice for all of us today is invaluable and greatly appreciated. The JPO is very honored to have Mr. Mendoza join in as our guest for today. I hope they'll all join me in giving him a warm welcome. Without further ado, once again, a very good evening to Adolfo O. Mendoza. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Hello, Mr. Mendoza.
Hi, thank you, Brian. Good evening, everyone, especially to the Jesselton Philharmonic Orchestra. It's my pleasure to be your guest here in JPO Family Program. Tonight, I will discuss about the bassoon as soloist and as orchestra player. So, relax.
Well, once again, thanks for joining us, Mr. Mendoza. So let's start off the interview with this. So would you like to explain about the video that we showed earlier on today?
Well, that's the concerto for bassoon and orchestra by Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, which I performed at the Cultural Center of the Philippines with the Philippine Philharmonic Orchestra last January 24, 2020. And I think that was the last performance of PPO before the pandemic affected the entire Philippines.
All right. So that was like a last performance. So that was like last performance before everything went down. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that must have been a very memorable performance then. Yep. All right. So moving on. So why did you choose the bassoon as your instrument?
I started with the clarinet actually when I was in the elementary school with during my time on the marching band. So when I go to college, I just curious about this instrument because in our province we don't see this kind of instrument. So I'm so curious about the sound and everything. So actually, my advisor asked me if I want to shift from clarinet to bassoon, and then I said I'll try. So I just amazed this instrument, and it's really different because you can create a different sound. So if you like to have a a funny sound or a very lyrical sound, you can do it. And then the range of this instrument is huge because the range is from like 4 octave, 5 octaves. So you can have the bass because bassoon is the bass of the woodwind section, while you can also play a higher register. So I said I like this instrument, so I decided okay, I'm gonna do it because until now I can play both the bassoon and the clarinet. So and then I think for myself this instrument this instrument is the one who give me a lot of opportunities. That's why I'm just lucky to have this opportunity.
All right. Well, thanks for sharing that history with us. It definitely sounds like you're very happy with the decision there.
Yeah, indeed.
That's good to hear then. So, as you mentioned earlier on, the topic for today is regarding your roles as a soloist and an orchestra player. So, would you care to elaborate about the differences between these different roles?
Yeah. Well, before answering that question, I would like to give some basic difference in their role. As a soloist, uh, it has a leading role, playing mostly the melody and the hard part of the music. So we can say you're the star. If you like to, you're in the front of the orchestra. All the melodies is yours. Everybody is focused on you. So that's being a soloist. While in an orchestra player, it's quite hard also because you're always adapting to the interpretation of the conductor. So all of you, like all the members of the orchestra, should play as a team, so as one. So what's written in your music, should be exactly, you have to play it exactly compared to the as a soloist. So you can be a little bit, but so you can add a little bit. So it depends on the music. So if I think I don't need to choose one, because as a soloist, the basic fundamental is become an orchestra player. So all the techniques you have to be prepared. You have to practice a lot, and the same as a soloist. So I I I, I think um being a soloist and being a orchestra player has uh not not the same, but we can call it connection. So if you can play in the orchestra, you can play also solo, because if you're going to audition in an orchestra, you are required to play a solo. And it's a basic solo. Like for bassoon, we have to play the concerto for concerto by Mozart. So I think we should know how to. Everybody should know how to play solo in the same time as the orchestra.
All right. Well, thanks for that. Well, just to add on a bit to that. So as you mentioned, like there isn't too much of a difference between being a soloist and an orchestra player, right? So how does one transition? How does one move from being an orchestra player to a soloist? Like, how was your experience in doing so?
Well, being at the orchestra, because I become an orchestra player before I play a lot of solos in the. So I think if you have a hard part, that's the only part that you will get nervous. while while you're playing the solo, so everything is yours, everybody is listening to you. So it's a lot of pressure being a soloist.
All right. Well, thanks. Well, thanks for sharing that. Other than that, how about the projection of sound as a soloist? Like, how does that differ from a normal role as an orchestra player?
Yeah, and as an orchestra player, you have to blend every time to your section, to the one who's playing with you. So if she play soft, so you have to play soft. It depends if you are the melody. So there's a lot of adjustment compared to a soloist. When you mostly you should play as much as the audience can hear you, because if you play piano as a soloist, the orchestra will play much piano than you. So the orchestra is always adjusting with the soloist most of the times.
All right. Well, thanks. Well, thanks for sharing that all that with us. So from what so based on all that you shared with us, so which one would you actually say that you prefer to play as? Would you prefer to perform as a soloist, or would you prefer to be an orchestra player?
At this time, I prefer to play in an orchestra, less pressure.
Yeah, understood. That's definitely understandable there. All
It
right.
depends on the music. Sometimes when you play like this Stravinsky Rite of Spring, it's really scary. So I prefer to play. Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So it depends on the music, because there are composition also that's really hard in the in an orchestra. It's like you're playing solo, and you can feel that you cannot feel the floor, or you just feel that you are floating because of the pressure and the nerves.
Yeah, that's definitely understandable there. Well, thanks for sharing all that with us, Mr. Mendoza. So other than that, would you care to share with us how do you practice, and what can you advise to your fellow musicians?
So my practice is at least every day I'm giving like 30 minutes as to hold my bassoon. That's the minimum. And then I always have these books etudes, my exercises. I need to maintain my breathing technique. So, and then reading all those orchestra excerpts, and some of the solos. So especially this time, because we don't have a lot of activities in our work, so we just stay home. So we need to stay fit to our profession. So regarding, if I have like a difficult passages, if I encounter this kind of music, I always look for the I always look for the best exercises that will help me to play these difficult passages. It's just like you are drinking medicine for that kind of illness. So my advice for the um, for the musicians, especially the young ones, the JPO family, is to you have to know your weakness first. You have to know your weakness. Or you have a problem with your intonation, or you have a problem with your fingerings, or anything. You have to know your weakness, and then by then you can practice that. How to practice it? Until now, I'm doing this kind of practice. I record every time I practice, and then I'm going to listen to it, and then compare every time. So and then practice very slow practice, because um, there's a lot of good effects if you are practicing slow. So intonation, the control, everything, and then if you will listen to your what you recorded, you can develop it.
Hmm,
Yeah,
sorry.
you can develop if you
Ah,
listen to what you did. So recording your practice is very good.
hmm. All right. Well, thanks for the tips there, Mendoza. I'm very sure everyone definitely picked up a lesson there too. So, how do you feel about scales? Do you think these are like very important for like any form of instrument that
Yes,
anyone plays? Yes.
it is very important to scale every day. Every day, do the basic things every time, with long tone, and then scales, and then exercises, and then go to the music, go to the concerto and everything. But before that, you have to do this basic thing. Long tone first for us is long tone, very, and then these scales. It will help to improve your intonation. Very very effective.
Okay. How about any other like specific techniques for like the bassoon or even the clarinet? Do you have any other bassoon or clarinet specific tips for our viewers?
Well, my technique in bassoon is especially for if I'm playing in an orchestra. There's a lot of uh, techniques required. Your tonguing, your intonation, because sometimes you play with the violin like that, and then so I'm using this double tongue.
Sorry,
Yeah, I'm using this double tonguing. Double tonguing. It's
double time.
like,
Okay.
yeah, it's a technique for tonguing, so you can tongue very fast.
Okay.
And then sometimes I'm using this circular breathing
Circular
for the
breathing.
phrases. Yeah, for the phrases.
All right. Do you happen to have any good studies that you could recommend for these sort of techniques?
Yeah, the Weissenborn etudes. So it includes like scales and tonguing and articulation, intonation. It's very interesting etudes. And then after that, I recommend the Milde scales, Ludwig Milde scales, and then the concert studies, and then the advanced book by Ludwig Milde.
Hmm.
That's a very good book.
All right. Well, thanks for sharing all that with us, Mr. Mendoza. I'm very sure. I'm very sure that our audience is grateful to receive all these tips from you.
Yeah.
All right. So, aside from your roles as a soloist and an orchestra player, from what I've read in your profile, you're actually involved in some universities as well and some conservatories. So, are you involved in any other forms of musical activities? Would you like to share some of your experiences in these, like even those in the conservatories and the universities?
Oh yeah, I'm teaching in a couple of universities here, and then I at this time I active in orchestration and choral arranging. Then uh, when the PPO needs some arrangement, they're asking me to arrange for some pop music, and then I also conducting choir and band, and I have this Philippine Pops Orchestra. More on chamber music. It's quite busy before this pandemic. So composition, I also compose music.
Hmm. All right. Well, it definitely sounds like you have a lot on your plate. So yeah.
Yeah, as long as it is music.
That's good then. So aside from your work on like your official work on like campus and such, do you also teach privately?
Yeah, I'm teaching private lesson
Okay.
for not only bassoon but also clarinet, saxophone.
Oh, okay. So you're teaching saxophone as well. That's interesting.
Yes, because
Oh,
I play saxophone when I was young and clarinet, so I still remember it. And then I also teach how to make reeds, bassoon reeds.
okay. All right.
So
Earlier on you mentioned that you worked a bit on arranging and composing. Would you like to share a bit with us on that? A little more on that?
yeah, um I composed the mostly the hymn of this university, like the Lyceum Northwestern University. I'm the one who composed the music, and then the hymn of Alfonso Cavite. So it's lyrics and music and the arrangement also, and then the Jubilee song of the province of Cavite. So it's a religious activity, a religious song. So and then what else did I? Sometimes compose for my mom, like today is Mother's Day. I have a music for her. I compose it. So so what else? Mostly arrangement. And nowadays, I'm busy with the bassoon groups. So we have a virtual performances. So I'm arranging some music, and then we post it in YouTube and Facebook. That's it.
All right. So these arrangements for the choir that you mentioned for the choral arrangements that you mentioned earlier on. So are these only for choir, or are these met, or were these arranged to go alongside with piano or even
Um,
orchestra?
yeah, there's also piano reduction. They can play the solo with the voice and piano, and you can play it with the chamber or the entire orchestra with a full orchestra. But we recorded it with a full orchestra.
Hmm. All right, it definitely sounds like a lot of work. How did you actually transition from being an orchestra player to actually one that actually arranges songs for a choir even?
Well, before I was a member of choir when I was young,
Ah, okay.
so I have a background in choral group, and so I sing. But Not that much.
All right.
I
Well,
sing, and that's why I know how to handle choir and a band. So I experience all of that. So
well,
I can teach it.
uh, it's definitely good that it's sort of like going back to your roots, I suppose.
Wow.
All right. So with that, yep. So early on we were showing some pictures. Would you like to share a bit on some of them because some of them actually did raise some interest over there. Could we just have
Okay.
the pictures up? Yep. All right. So okay. Hmm. Yep. So this is one of them. So, would you like to share a bit on this because this does have one of our founding members and his daughter in it as well.
Oh, I remember this picture was taken in upside down house in Tamparuli
Yeah.
with
Okay.
yeah, I think we were invited by the owner,
Mhm.
our dear friend Alexi. He's the owner. So he treat us a very very delicious lunch. So we did some jamming there. So we invite uh Mr. Lip. So and that time I think um Koan was there. Our friend Koan.
Oh, okay. I think he's even joining us right now in the show as well.
Oh hi Koan.
All right.
He's the one. He's the one who invited the group to perform in Malaysia. Actually,
Okay. All right. I think we have a. Oh yeah. Before I forget, because I'm not too sure if I have this wrong. We even have a Mr. Alexander Yi actually saying hi. I think would this be the person that you guys were mentioning?
yeah. Then
The owner. Yep. So yeah, he's saying Kamusta Kuya Pong. Good to see you again.
oh hi Alex Alexi.
All right.
The food is very good
All right.
and
Well,
nice place. The place is really nice. The venue the acoustics is perfect. Very good.
all right. Well, he's saying that. Well, he's also saying that you guys should come back to visit once it's possible again.
Yeah,
Yep.
we love it.
Well, thanks for sharing. Thanks for sharing all that with us, Mr. Mendoza. So I think there was another picture that we have. Oh yeah, this was another one. So would you like to elaborate a bit on this one?
Oh, this is the JPO. I think this is the JPO. I'm giving some tips and I think workshop a little bit. Miss some advice for the kids. I think they are grown up now. I think it's about 2013.
Hmm.
So it's maybe they are professional now, and they are about how many members? Maybe hundreds. Because during that time there are so many already. So I'm
Hmm.
just giving them some advice in orchestra playing and tips.
Okay. Well, thanks. I think this was one of the old buildings where the orchestra used to practice with. So yeah. Well, yeah. All right. So I think we'll have to move on to the one of our last questions before we move on to the Q&A. So this is a question that comes from the JPO. So as you may have heard, the Jesselton Philharmonic Orchestra, or JPO, has involved itself in a variety of activities. So on behalf of the JPO, we would like to ask about your views on the JPO and its activities. Additionally, how would you suggest that the JPO and its members further improve itself?
I think you're doing very good, and your activity is so good. It's so inspiring to everyone who's watching, or not only everywhere. Your program, your what you're doing now is really nice. I really I like to do it too here. So it's so inspired. It's so I think a lot of children and musician is now inspired if you will watch this program. So my advice is that enjoy playing music and practice very well, and don't forget to don't forget to what we call this. Don't forget to to perform to perform every time. Do a lot of chamber music. Do a lot of solo performances. Be active in your performances, and um, try to try to communicate and share what you have, what you learn. Share to other. If you see some student need some help, help them. Don't hide your talent. Don't just give everything you can, and support each other. Okay.
Yeah, those were definitely those were definitely some very wise words there, Mr. Mendoza. Thanks for sharing them. All right, so with that, I think we have to move on to the Q&A section of our interview. So we do have a few questions for you. So one of which was sort of related to what you were mentioning earlier on regarding regarding like performing and sharing and such. So with regards to the current situation with the pandemic, how would you suggest like young musicians or musicians in general like perform, practice, or even like reach out to each other to help each other out and such? How would you suggest we do so?
I'm sorry. Can you repeat? Sorry.
Sorry, it's all right. It's fine. So regarding because as you know now with the pandemic, it's a bit difficult for everyone to like come together and perform for audiences or even come together to practice even. So how would you suggest that musicians nowadays like do that, since we can't actually even come together to do so?
Yeah. What we are doing now is we can still play together by using this technology. We record, we make some click track
Mm-hmm.
to be able to uh, to play together same tempo, and then we have a guide for the intonation, and then we video it, so it's a very good training actually.
Mm.
Yeah, but you need somebody to mix it.
Mm. All right, fair enough. All right, well, thanks for sharing that, Mr. Mendoza. So we do have another question coming in. So this person is saying, "Hi, Dr. Mendoza. Wonderful sound of the that was wonderful sound of the bassoon and playing. I know what one should do if he or she is interested to pick up the bassoon."
Well, bassoon is a very interesting instrument. To pick up the bassoon, first first you have to, since the bassoon is very big, you have to look for your finger if it's gonna fit the bassoon, your height and your build.
Mm.
If you are less than 4 feet or so, that is quite big for you. So, but I think there's a special bassoon for that.
Mm.
Maybe they put some extension and everything if you really like the bassoon. But it can be. If you like the bassoon, it's a fun instrument.
Mm. All right, so
Uh,
it's not entirely impossible if you don't really meet the
yeah,
requirements and such. Okay, that's
yeah.
interesting to hear. All right.
I,
Sorry.
yeah. More question, more question. I like to I like to do this. Come
All
on,
right.
everybody.
Right. Yeah, that does remind me. I would just like to ask our audience, just to remind them, if you do have any questions, please leave them in the Q&A so we can address them. All right, so let's see. We do have another question coming in from one of our guests. So, Mr. Mendoza, what is your suggestion for the purchase of a bassoon? Yep, so this is one for a beginner because it is quite pricey to get one. That's a good. That's a good
Yeah,
question.
yeah. It's the bassoon is quite expensive.
Hmm.
Yeah, but to begin with, there are not all the bassoon are expensive. If you're using a professional one, it's really expensive. But there are bassoon for the beginner, which is not that expensive. It's around $3,000, $4,000 US dollar. You can have it.
All right. So yeah, thanks for sharing that with us. I'm pretty sure they might try to look it up now. So this comes from another one of our viewers. So hi, would you like to share with us what motivated you to pursue your studies until the PhD level? Yeah.
Well, the one because I really like to play in an orchestra. Honestly, I love to play in an orchestra, but playing the clarinet compared to the bassoon, I think the ratio is 1:10 or more. One bassoon, the ratio. There are a lot. There's so many clarinet during my time, and they are all good. And that time when I was in college, there's no one's playing the bassoon. So I
Hmm.
think if I play the bassoon, I have a bigger chance to play in an orchestra. So that's why I said I'm gonna play the bassoon, and that's what happened. So there are hundreds of clarinet compared to one bassoon. So every time there's an orchestra, you have a big chance to be in an orchestra because there's only few bassoon here in the Philippines that time.
Okay. So you're saying that basically because of your opportunity as a bassoonist, that's why you decided to continue to a PhD.
Yes, and I'm curious about this instrument. It sounds
Ah.
so cute.
All right. Well, thanks for showing. Thanks for sharing that with us, Mr. Mendoza. So we do have a few more questions coming in. So this person is asking, what sort of ensemble or chamber group best suited for the bassoon is best suited for the bassoon, so it can blend in very well.
Anything, any ensemble, the bassoon is suited. You can play like the woodwind quintet. You can play bassoon, piano, and violin. You can play any combination because bassoon can play the bass, and it's a bass and tenor. So the best combination I suggest is you have this high sounded instrument like violin, flute, and then piano. Oh, sorry again. But basically, bassoon can play in any chamber group, in any ensemble.
Hmm. All right. Going back, so thanks for that. Moving on back to one of our previous questions regarding regarding the beginner bassoon. So do you have any suggestions for brands that you might know?
Uh-huh. They can use the scriber, I think. Scriber,
Scriber.
Bushman,
Hmm.
student model. It's not that expensive.
Okay, so it's actually quite easy to find one, is it? A
Yeah,
beginner bassoon. Hmm.
yeah, Amati. Yeah,
Hmm.
for the student model, it's not that expensive.
Hmm. Okay. Well, thanks for that. So we have another question coming in. So hello, Mr. Mendoza. What's your Yep, this is a good one. So what's your best memory in your musical journey until now? Would you like to share that with us?
Oh, the best thing that happened to me is I travel a lot because of this playing bassoon. I travel a lot. I meet people everywhere. So I travel around the world. joining a different orchestra. For most of them are free, and then you meet. I meet a lot of people from different places. Um, yeah, and study having scholarship and study for free and everything. So that's what this instrument did to me, being a musician. So a lot of opportunities.
But it's definitely, once again, it's definitely good to hear that that picking up the bassoon has been one of your, like, how do you say, one of your
Yeah.
best decisions to you. So yeah, thanks for sharing all that with us, Mr. Mendoza. So we have time for one more question. So this is coming from another audience member. Could you tell us something about the maintenance of the bassoon?
I'm sorry.
Could you tell us something about the maintenance of the bassoon? Maybe like what's the
Oh,
most difficult to take care of, or maybe an easy tip on taking care of the bassoon?
every year we're putting some oil. So we need to put some oil to prevent the wood from cracking. So and then we don't expose our instrument to the very hot temperature.
Okay.
Otherwise, it's a prone to crack or put the bassoon in so much so very dry places.
Mm-hmm.
So to prevent that, we we put some oil, and since the bassoon is so sensitive, um, too much humidity is not good also. So as as much as possible, we play in indoor places.
All right. So is like the whole thing about taking care of the bassoon with oil and taking care of the humidity? Is this particularly for this region, or do all the bassoonists in, like, let's say Europe also follow these procedures, like also follow these
I,
sort of steps and such?
I think most of the bassoon
Most
most of the
bassoonists.
bassoon
Hmm.
most bassoonists is doing this oiling. We put some oil to the wood.
Ah,
So by doing this, we prevent the wood to have this crack.
okay. So it's more of it's more of a general knowledge thing of
Yeah.
for bassoonists. Yep.
At least once a year.
Hmm. Okay, that's something new I've learned. Well, thanks for sharing all that with us, Mr. Mendoza. So yeah, with that, I think yeah, thank you so much once again. Thank you so much for your responses. Sorry everyone, but everyone, we are coming to the end of tonight's broadcast. So we would like to remind everyone that our JPO family program will be broadcasted twice a week until further notice. So that will be every Wednesday and Sunday night in Malaysia time. So join us next time with our next guest, who will be revealed at a later date. More details on this can be found on our Facebook page. A video recording of tonight's broadcast will also be available on the YouTube channel, along with the past webinars and the soon to be broadcasted interviews. So feel free to share the Zoom webinar registration link, the JPO YouTube channel, or even the JPO Facebook page with your friends and family. For our YouTube audience, if you are enjoying our program, please show your support by pressing the like and subscribe button down below. You guys have been an amazing audience, and we from the JPO family wishes that everyone stay safe and healthy as we continue to face this crisis together. I will now be leading in prayer to end tonight's program. So please pray in whatever faith you believe in regarding the COVID-19 pandemic. We pray that everyone in the world continues to stay strong in surviving through these difficult times, and a solution to the virus will soon be found. We pray that governments across the world continue to improve upon their efforts and decision making so as to protect their people and curb the spread of the virus. We pray for the safety and well-being of everyone working as we enter a new week of May, and as parts of the world continue to face new surges of cases. We pray that everyone continues to be patient and understanding in maintaining the appropriate protocols as we now approach the Hari Raya festive season. We pray for the continued safety and morale of the frontliners who are risking their lives so that they may continue to provide for those in need. So with that, once again, thank you, Mr. Mendoza, and thank you to everyone joining us today. Once again, a very happy Mother's Day to all. Good night, and we hope to see you all again next time. See you.
Bye.
Bye.